Okay, for this first tutorial, we're going to go through how to use the Baserow Project Manager and create workspaces for particular projects. And we are going to build a little database that's intended to be used by an organization to help shop for supplies when they're needed. And this database will have a few tables here with items that need to be purchased and some linked tables for names of departments and contact emails in those departments, as well as stores that users can select to purchase where the items should be purchased. And what we're going to do is I'm going to open a separate version of a separate instance of Baserow, which you can see is running at, this is a little domain that I've set up, and I've set up this open source version of Baserow on my server. This is totally free. You can put as many databases and rows in this free version, and everything we're doing here is with the free version. And if you don't have the technical expertise to set this up on your own server, just go to baserow.io and create a free account, and you can use the exact same application there for free to start out, and then you can always move your applications to your own server if you need to at some point. So I've just got two of the same versions here. This one already has my little shopping list and supplies database. So we're going to create that in this tab. I'm going to go into my builder, the Baserow database builder, and I'm going to add a workspace. So see up the top here, you click this, shows your existing workspaces, and we're going to create a new workspace for this tutorial project. We'll call this tutorial 1, and it'll create a nice new workspace for us. We've got all these other ones. Here's the existing tutorial that we're looking at in the other tab. If I want to change this, for example, change the name and do some other things with this workspace, I can just go up to the top here. Tutorial 1, we'll call this one supplies. So you can rename things as you need. What we're going to do is create a new database. So you have all these things you can do here, but we're going to create a database for this, and we're going to call this one supplies. Okay, so now over on this left-hand column, you can see we have a database named supplies. If you have more, they'll just all be listed here with one new table. A table looks like a spreadsheet interface. It's got column headers, call these things fields. The fields can contain a variety of different information, and you want to use the right type of field to store the type of information that you're going to be storing in that column. So if you want to store dates in a column, use the date field. If you want to upload a file, use the file column. And there are types for formula and all sorts of other useful sorts of data that you can use in the database. We can create new tables, new columns in any given table. And we can also move those columns around. So let's create like a little demo here. You can kind of slide things around as you need, make them different sizes. You can choose to adjust the height of the layout. So if you want to see more information all at once, choose to hide fields if you need to hide them. And you can also share these views at a web address, so that other users can then look and sort and filter the information in a way that's useful to them. So we're going to make 3 tables here. I'm going to rename this one, we'll call this one shopping list. I think that was what it was called in my original tutorial. And we're going to add another table. We'll call that departments in an organization, and then we're going to add another one called stores at which you can purchase items. Now you can also just import a CSV file. If you have an existing CSV file that you've exported from a spreadsheet, import that CSV file, and Baserow will just import the data, create all the headers, and you do the same thing with JSON and XML. And if you pay for the additional features, licensed features, you can also do things like sync with GitHub and with GitLab and so on. So you can see when we've added these tables from scratch, We get a couple default headers. The name column, it's the same in all of these. We have a name, a notes, and an active column, which are pretty good, typical starter fields. You very often want to know if a row is active or not. I'm going to delete this little demo field I created. And we're going to look at the existing application over in this other tab. I'm going to see what we had stored, what tables I had stored here. So the point is just to rebuild this application. Now I'm going to go and look at what we've done here. So we have in the stores column, you'll see that there's this shopping list column over here, which we're going to build later. So everything else in this table is just the default fields. I'm going to copy all of these name values, Control C, highlight them in Control C, just like you would in a spreadsheet. And over here in the stores, so I'm going to go down here, and I'm just going to paste those in. And blam, now we've got a populated set of stores in our stores column. Do the same thing with departments. Go back over to our existing application, and I'm just doing this to kind of walk you through how this particular database was built. Paste those values in, and we need for this table have a contact email column. So let's go ahead and add that to our new application. I'm going to click here and insert it to the left of the notes column. We'll call that contact email, and we'll use the email data type. And we don't do that because we don't want people typing in the word chair or potato for a contact email. It has to be a valid email. If you don't type a valid email, it won't let you enter a value. So for this, we're going to paste, let's do this again. I'm going to highlight this and paste those values that I copied from the existing table. Okay, so we've got now a list of stores in a table and a list of departments in a table, and the departments table has some contact emails for each of those departments. Let's look at the rest of this. The shopping list has quite a few columns, things that'll be useful. The first column is a column to store the items that need to be purchased. And you can see that's single line text. I'm going to go ahead and grab all the values I have here in my existing application, and we'll recreate that over here. So all I'm going to do here is just rename this column. We'll just single line text. We'll call that items. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and paste those values in. Let's look at what we have in our existing application. So I have quantity. You can see that that is a number field. So let's go ahead and grab these values here, and we will add in our replication of this application a QTY field, and that will be a number. And we can do all sorts of things to control and validate the sorts of numbers we want to add here. In our case, we just want to add a number. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this in here. Control V. We get all those values that we had before, and you can resize the header so it's appropriate here. We don't need them to be any bigger than they are. Okay, so let's go back to our existing application. We've got a column called brand. That's just another single text line, so we will add a column here. Insert that. Brand. So when people are purchasing an item and the user wants someone wants a particular brand of that item, we have a place to put that in our little list. And let's see what we've got next. So we have notes, so we can let anybody who's purchasing know exactly what they should be buying. I've already got that notes field by default, so let's do this. I'll open that up a little bit so it's got a little, I can see a little more. And okay, and then we have one called needed by date, a column called needed by date, so that if an item needs to be shopped for before a particular date, if it's running out, or you have an event that's coming up, you know item needs to be purchased by then. We can include that. Let's do this here, date. And we're going to include the time. Let's make this US, and we'll make this 12-hour. We don't need to show the time zone. And let's stick this right next to the notes column. And I'm going to go ahead and paste those values from the other existing application already there. Okay, and did some things here. So I changed this column that was by default included in this table, which is called active. I changed it to be urgent so that users have some way to mark if this thing absolutely needs to be built. So I'm going to edit that field, change the name on it, and we're going to use that field to store whether or not purchasing this is essential, because this is a Boolean field, true or false. So I'm going to save that, copy some of these values from the other example, and you can set something true or false in those columns. Let's go back and look at our original application. Then I have a column for image, and so let's go ahead and add that. We're going to store a file in that column. We'll title that column image, and paste some of these values that I have. And actually, I think I won't do that because I want to show you how to upload the files. And let's continue here. Okay, so now you can see I've got these columns where you can see they are what's called a link to another table. This column links to values in the department table, so it lets a user of this database, this table, select from values in the department table. And then we have this other table here, which is a link, and it's called, the column is called where to purchase, and that is a link to the stores table. You can see here I have checked allow multiple relationships, so you can purchase items at many stores, and I've also got this box checked. For smaller databases, you can do this, leave this checked by default, create related fields in the link table. And what that does is it lets you see sort of a two-way view of how these are viewed. So in the shopping list table where I've linked them, I can see the departments that I can, or that needs that item to be purchased, and you can see all of the places where those items should be purchased from. And also, if I go into departments, now I can see all of the rows that in the shopping list that are assigned to accounting, and I can also see all those rows that are assigned to Walmart. And Baserow just does that automatically. You can, for bigger databases with many thousands of items or millions of items, you don't need to by default include that link back. We're going to go ahead and do that here. Let's see if we can copy these. I'm not sure if this will copy properly, but we're going to go back into our replication of this, and the header there was called department. So department, we're going to make that a link. There we go, link to table, and title that header department. And we'll link that to the departments table. Leave these checked. Okay, so now we've got a linked table, that foreign field, and I've populated it with the links that were in the existing spreadsheet. Looks like we need one more column here, where to purchase. So I'm going to copy those. I'm going to add a new linked field here. Link to table. Title that where to purchase. And stores. Okay, purchase at these stores. And I'm going to go ahead and copy all of the existing values there. So we've recreated this little database with its three tables of information. And you can see when I created that link from the shopping list table to this column department, to this column where to purchase, it went ahead and did a reverse link here to those particular columns in each of the link tables. So that was done automatically. And again, you don't need to do that if you don't want those to show up, like your shopping list rows to show up in the linked department table. Just when you create it, when you're creating it, uncheck this checkbox. So you will be able to, if you do that, you will be able to link departments, but they won't automatically show up in the departments list. Those rows from the shopping list won't appear. Okay, so let's do a couple more things. We have to populate some files here. So I had downloaded an image of a mop. Let's do this. I'm going to add an image here. Just upload the file. I could also give it a URL if I wanted to, but let's see here. See some of the garbage on my machine. Downloads. Let's see if I have this still available somewhere. Mop. There we go. There's the mop image. Okay, so we've got a little mop image, and I can open that up and look at it. Can look at it, and if there's more than one value, I can look at those values, and if I want to download the image or delete it, I can. Let's see, I think for pens I'd included an image for Bic. Maybe a pen. And if not, there we go. Stick. It was for Bic sticks. Okay, so I've got an image there now, and you can see that's been uploaded. It's in the database. And let's see here. What else did we do? I had one for soap dispensers. And let's do that same thing. Look for everything that has WebP extension. There we go. There's soft soap. Upload that image. Okay, so now I've got some images uploaded into our database. And looks like we have a good copy now. We've rebuilt this application, and hopefully you've now seen how to create a database with a bunch of different types of values, some links, and learned how to use the interface. So now that we've got that, what can we do with it? So here we are in our tutorial workspace. One of the things we can do is create a different version of the view. So I'm going to create, along with the grid, I'm going to create a gallery view. And if you want to pay more, not using just the open source free version, if you want a calendar view or a Kanban view or a timeline view of your data, you can pay, I think it's like $10 a month, and get a license to have all these other really useful views of the data. Okay, so gallery, let's call that gallery. You can see it's collaborative. And gives us this nice little view of the data, and we can choose to customize those cards. So what do we want to see? We could show all of the columns. We get a card with each of those bits of information. So a repeating panel. You could choose what you want. Let's just say we want to see the items, the quantity, and the date they're due. We'll just say that department. So this gives us a nice little view of exactly what we want. If there was a picture, if we wanted to see a picture, we could make that our cover, but we don't need that here. Okay, so now what this does is it gives us a nice little sort of easy to read view, sort of a summary of what's in each of those rows. The item that we want is hand soap dispenser, and maintenance needs that, and they need it by this date. And additionally, say we want to filter things here where we're only seeing items that have a date. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll add a filter where the what was the name of that column where the date is not empty. There, so now you can see the view is just only items that have dates entered. Let's go ahead and back and I'll just switch back to this view here in the grid. Let's go ahead and add one more date. So we want to say this staples are needed by July 14th and they're needed by 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so if we switch back to our gallery view, boom, you can see that the staples have been added there. So we'll add one more view here. Let's call this form. Call it new supply needed. Okay, and what this will do is give us a way to build a form that a user can use to just add an item very quickly. And we're going to add all these things. And some of them are going to be required. Let's say here, we'll give this whole form a title and said new item needed. And we can give a description we want. So we do want this item value. That's required. Say notes are not required. We don't need to have urgent here. So you can see we can do this. We can also choose to show this field if a condition is met. So urgent won't be shown unless notes is, unless the note is, for example, doesn't contain a particular word. But we're not going to do that. It's going to. We do want quantity here. Let's say that's required. Brand is not required. And date is not required. Image is not required. So department probably should be required. Where to purchase doesn't really need to be required. Okay, so and then we can do, we can choose, this is a very useful thing, we can choose to receive a notification when a user submits this form. And we're also going to choose to show a message, or we could choose to have it go to another URL, open another web page. We'll just say the item, or the supply, the required supply has been added to the shopping list. Okay, so now we've got a form automatically generated that can be used by users to enter data into that database table. Now what's really important about this is that we can share it. So we go here and create a link. You can also choose to password protect this if you want. But let's just leave it, and you're going to see it's going to generate this link on my server. And if I paste that, copy and paste that, you can see now that form is available at a web address. And I can choose, let's say we need to get coffee. Let's say we only want, I don't know brands of coffee at all, so only the kind in the can. Kind in the can. And sure, that's going to be urgent, of course. Say we need to get 2 cans. Taster's Choice. I don't even know if they make cans, but that's the only brand I can think of. And let's say we need that. We need that by tomorrow at 6 a.m. Okay, and if we wanted to, we could download an image or take a picture and upload it here. For the department, we're going to need that for accounting. Let's say we need that for all of them. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And where to purchase, so you can purchase it at Walmart. Submit that, and blammo, we get we got some. We made the image file required, so I'm just gonna do this here. I'll give some sort of image. Let's just put just to get through this. move this thing here. Okay. Off camera here, I just got attacked by a spider, so this took a second. Okay, so now we have an image there. We can submit it. Blam. Okay, that's great. It looks like I have a little bit of a typo here. And let's also make that image not required. I don't want people to have to upload an image. And we'll do one other thing here. Say this is needed for several departments. We're going to make that multiple, and we can add some fields down here. And we'll also say we want this where to purchase also to be available as a multiple, so we can use it from any number of stores. Okay, so now if I run that again, let's go to that shared address, and now when we go down to department, you can see I can choose accounting, and then I can also choose human resources and so on, and where to purchase can be Target and Walmart and so on. Okay, and if I don't fill out any of the required fields, it's not going to let me do it. So let's say we need some envelopes. So this just gives a nice interface for anybody to be able to add a required supply to our shopping list. Have no notes, it's not urgent. Quantity, let's say we need a quantity of 100 of them. Brand doesn't matter. I did make this required, so let's go ahead and do that. Need that by the 14th. Okay, that's good. Submit it, and so on. And I'm going to go ahead and forget which one here. The date does not need to be required. Boom. Okay, so you've seen how to create a form interface. Now remember where we're doing this. And by the way, as I'm looking at my interface here, I can see in the workspace I've got some notifications, and it's letting me know new supply needed has been submitted in the table shopping list, and new and so on. And it shows you all the fields that have been added. So I mark those as red. And so we set that as the option down here, receive a notification on submit. So that's great. We can see when things have been added and just get a little notification directly in the database system. Okay, so I'm going to switch between these views again. We had our original grid view. We have our gallery view, which shows you some things. Now you can see coffee's been added, envelopes have been added because we had a required date for those. You can see the departments that want that stuff. And we can share this view. Remember, we've got one filter already applied. When I share this view, I'm going to create a link to this particular view. These views are really, really important in helping you, sort of search and slice and dice your data the way you want. So if I want to, for example, sort this by, we already have a filter applied, but say we want to sort it by date. And I want those dates to be either ascending or descending. Now I can see the items that are required, and the original sort that I created here, or the original filter I created, so it was only showing the value, the values where date is not empty, are here, and I'm additionally sorting those. And if I wanted, I could create another filter here, and I can create multiple filters, in fact. So let's say where the item contains, I'll just say the letter E. There we go. Got rid of something. Let's see if we have ER. There we go. So we can say soap dispensers and paper clips and rubber bands are now included. And so your users can do this. And if they want to customize the view here, they can. Based on the view that you've already created, they can additionally filter and sort more and change the layout so they can see what they need. So now anybody that needs to go shopping, boss says, hey, go pick up the things we need, just get the stuff we need this week. So you can filter by date, pick up this little view and look at this on your phone. And of course, if it's on your phone, it will properly display. So you have a smaller view there, it will display properly and organize itself responsibly. So now you've got a nice little gallery view. And additionally, if you want, we can go to this grid view and we can get a shared view of that. So if we want some users, maybe we want the boss to see all the information, go here, create that link, and blam, now there is a web URL that anybody can go to on their computer or their phone. They can see all of the data and they can choose to sort and filter and group. Let's say we want to group things by urgency. So now we have 8 items that are urgent, or 8 items that are not urgent, and 4 items that are urgent, and we can additionally choose to sort and filter those groupings. So those features alone give you a really nice general ability to store data in relatable format, so you can relate columns and use them in other tables, to share the views of that data, to group, sort, and filter, provide different views of that data, to provide a form to add data to that database. And you can, of course, change the view. So let's go back to that last here. In this public view we've created of this, we don't have any existing filters or sorts or groupings, but that's what would show up here when this is brought up. And then users can additionally choose to filter, if they want to only see where the quantity is higher than 2. Now you can see that's going to filter that information down. And importantly, we can choose to add other filters. Let's do the filters, and we'll add a filter, and we'll say the item contains ER. Yeah, there we go, 1 item left. So we're really able to look at our data very nicely, and I can choose to remove that. We can add our filter groups. So say I want to say where the quantity is higher than 2 and the items contains ER, or, oops, down here, or the items contain or don't contain TH. There we go, blammo. So we've got items that contain ER and don't contain those other letters. And of course we can just disable those filters and go back here, and you can remove filters as you need. And those filters, sorts, and groupings can be applied to any view that you create. And that view that you create publicly can have its own filters as a base for that view already applied. So super powerful way to begin building a foundation for applications, and on its own provides a lot of ability just to work with data that you can use in your business or in any sort of other organization or for any other purpose. And what's really, really important about Baserow that's sort of hidden here is that when you do this, when you create a database, unlike with spreadsheets that can't be linked, there's a very, very powerful additional feature that there is a REST API, a backend that enables any other system to connect to this database online. So you can create an application in Python, or you can create it using a no-code system like NAN, or any of the other tools that are available to work with data that comes from APIs. And that's one of the main ways that we build applications and allow data to be interchanged between applications online. And Baserow automatically builds an API for this database. You can actually view those API documents here, and it tells you exactly how to connect to them and what sort of things you can do. And it's basically anything you'd want to do with this database. Anything the system can do with the database, you can do with the API, and that's extremely important for being able to extend the system to do other things. There's some other features, like you can invite members to collaborate on this database, send them an email. All they have to do is then just log in to your account, whether it's on Baserow.io or it's a self-hosted instance. They can go in and you can give them access to that workspace, and only that workspace, so they can work on those applications. So if you want, a particular set of members to be able to work on these supplies, they can do that. So here, I'm going to go back here and we'll just add a new, just one place here. Let's say we want to add in this row, we're going to say we need to buy a computer. We need just one of them. let's say we want to go Dell, or I'll just use Dell. And then let's say notes, get something with more than 64 gigs of RAM. And we don't need a date. Let's say we need that for the accounting department, and it's not urgent. And we could, for example, upload an image, but we're not. And let's say they can buy this at our accounts at Target, Staples, Office Depot, or on Amazon. Okay, and you can see all that. And then when we go and look at our stores, you can see that we've added these lists, these particular lists. Let's change the height view here. Large, you can see that for that computer, where is it? Oh yeah. So we have in the Walmart list, you can buy a computer. The Target list, you can buy a computer, and so on. And for the departments, we added that to the accounting department. We see they need a computer. We can go to that computer row, and we can add that and remove it here too. And then one final thing, and we're going to go back to our home page for this Supplies DB workspace. I'm going to download this. Now that we have a working application, I'm going to export it, and I could choose just to download the structure with no data in it, but I'm going to not do that. I want the entire thing for later. Download this. You can see I've made some other previous things. Let's call this supplies tutorial. And then later on, if I want to make this application, maybe make another version of it, maybe have another team work on this for, different kind of supplies that are needed for a different part of the organization, I can create a new workspace. I'll call this supplies 2, and import that data. Drop my files here, and upload that zip file. And I could, of course, also do this if I'm running, say I want to migrate from this server to another server and have all the same applications and data and everything migrated. You just export the workspace and re-import it back in, and blammo, now you can see I've got this database, and it has all of the data and all the structures that we've created in this database in our new workspace called supplies. And if I want to now delete that workspace, go back to home, I can choose to delete it. And you got a great little trash can here. Say I did that by accident. I can go back here and look for whatever I've deleted. You can see I have supplies here, and I can bring that back later. I think I have this actually under a couple different names. I have this under database, that's why. So let's go supplies, deleted, and I can restore that, and blammo, it's back. So a great way to work with projects, makes it absolutely dead simple for anybody without any experience dealing with complicated tech. If you know how to use a computer and you can maybe use a spreadsheet, you can do this sort of thing, and it will serve as an absolutely powerful and versatile foundation for building more complex applications, which we'll cover in the next tutorials. So hopefully that's helped you get started with the database part. Stay tuned for some more application tutorials.